Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Morning Markets here on the True Potential YouTube channel. So on yesterday's Morning Markets, Raj discussed a little bit about China and Taiwan, and I'd just like to open again on that today with Paul Durrans, our investment director. Paul, is there any update on China and Taiwan? Is that affecting markets at all?
Yeah, morning. Not really. Despite the backdrop of the geopolitical tensions between the US and China over Taiwan, what we're seeing in equity markets overnight, Chinese equities were up positively, as were Japan.
Yeah.
If we look at equity markets more broadly, we saw positive returns from global equities.
Yeah, I think that's an illustration, really. Like sometimes what you do see on the mainstream news isn't a reflection of what's actually happening in markets, and I think that's the beauty of morning markets. We can give that actual perspective. So equity markets in general have actually been okay. Do you want to just elaborate a bit more?
Absolutely. So we saw European stocks hit an 8-week high, and that's been driven by technology stocks. UK was also up yesterday, reversing some initial losses. And then in the US, where we saw the strongest gains, really driven by what we call growth stocks, outperforming value stocks by about 1.5%. But when we look at what that means from a sector perspective, we saw technology, consumer discretionary, and communication services. So people will relate to the likes of Google and, say, Meta. They performed very, very well yesterday and helped drive the US stock market.
Very good. On Tuesday, we discussed about US manufacturing data. Is there any update on that in terms of the US economy?
Yeah, so on Tuesday we had, I suppose, disappointing manufacturing data. We saw a decline in new orders, with consumers really pulling back on buying goods, given the squeeze on disposable incomes, given the strength of inflation. So a little bit disappointing. But what we had out yesterday was very positive, with a US services survey data. And so really, this is widely followed by investors because it gives you a very up-to-date picture of businesses, and you can look at different components and get different economic themes from the report. So what we saw was the services coming in far ahead of expectations and better than the previous month, and that was driven by new orders. So a lot of pent-up demand still. People want to go out and spend on travel, hospitality, leisure, and that's what's really driving.
So that's a good positive for investors, or is that potentially something which could play into inflation?
I think what this offers is a source of reprieve against the notion that the US economy is heading towards a recession.
Yeah.
Last week we had the second consecutive quarter of negative GDP, which is a technical recession. So people are fearful of that, but as we just saw in the data yesterday, there is some real strength in the US economy still.
Positive. And what we'll be looking out for later today, we do have the Bank of England. Do you want to just tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so all eyes will be on the Bank of England. They are responsible for setting UK interest rates in the UK.
Yeah.
And what they're expecting, or what the market is expecting, a 90% probability of this is a 0.5% increase in interest rates, which will be the largest increase since it gained independence 25 years ago. So it'll be a big move if they go for it. We think that there's a high probability to that, and why they're doing that is to bring inflation back down from where it is today, 9.4%, back to its target level of 2%.
Yeah. So what viewers need to do is subscribe to the True Potential YouTube channel, and tomorrow we'll cover that on Morning Markets, the Bank of England move. I'd also just like to say thank you to Mr. Hugh MacDonald, who actually was one of our clients who visited us here in the studio this week. It was a pleasure to meet you, Mr. MacDonald, and I know you'll be watching, so thank you very much. Thank you to our other viewers. Thank you, Paul. It's a good Morning Markets today, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
If you're interested in taking your investing to the next level, or would like to know more about the options available to you when you retire, then download our free guides to ISAs and pensions. These are available in the video description below.